So thanks again. We're going to get started again with the next keynote speaker. We're really delighted to have Nicole Wong here to talk with us, and I'm going to introduce Professor Eric Paulos, who directs the Connected Communities Initiative here at Citrus. He's part of the ECS department and Berkeley Center for New Media, and does all kinds of really creative things down in the Invention Lab as well. So I'll turn it over to Eric.
All right. Thank you, Camille. It's a huge honor to be here and also to introduce Nicole. For many of you today, the event started, but for a lot of us, it started actually last night. We had the opportunity to have a collection of about 30 middle school young women down in the Invention Lab making things, and you'll hear more about that a little bit later. But we're really excited to have this whole event happen here, and particularly to have Nicole with us today. Nicole, as many of you maybe don't know, she's an attorney. She specializes in internet, media, and intellectual property, so it really crosses a lot of our interests from, I think, the audience and the things that we do. She got her degree here in UC Berkeley from the law school. She also got a degree in journalism. And she worked immediately doing practicing First Amendment law locally. And I think through the clients that she worked with, she was able to actually end up through her career path at Google, where she actually became the vice president and deputy general counsel there. And while she was there, she has this really great name. She was called the Decider, I believe. That's because of her work managing what you could imagine was intricate censorship law and enforcement demands that were placed on her desk by government and by governments around the world. She left Google. She ended up at Twitter for some time, where she led the director of products there, another really exciting career opportunity. And then the call comes, and Barack Obama says, well, we'd like to have you come to the White House and be the Deputy Chief Technology Officer for the United States. Amazing. I don't know what to say. She also has appeared before Congress 5 times, so this is going to be really easy for her to kind of interact with us, prepare your congressional questions. But to sort of bring that home, she really is a true, I believe, almost very embodying an intellectual rigor, but also an activist, a person that really is interested in First Amendment rights, social justice, technology. She said during one of her congressional appearances, first and foremost, the U.S. government should promote internet openness as a major plank for our foreign policy. And it sort of really embodies a lot of the things that she does. She also has worked on a number of boards, such as Witness, which is an organization for promoting the use of video to advance human rights. They have this amazing tagline, "See it, film it, change it," which I think is just brilliant. And of course, she's also had the opportunity to give back and teach. She's taught here at Berkeley, at Stanford, at the University of San Francisco, and many other places. It's a huge honor to welcome her here. She's going to talk about diversity as well. Thank you. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, Eric. What a kind introduction. So good afternoon, and thank you, Citrus and CLTC, for hosting this event and including me in today's conversation, which has gone so well. It's sort of daunting to follow such an incredible lineup of women who are not just leaders in their field, but are so insightful about the evolving role of women in technology. Before I get started, I want to congratulate today's Citrus Athena awardees, who have all also done incredible work. So thank you all for your contributions to the technology community. I'm going to do this old style, no slides, because I'd like it to be a little bit more like a conversation instead of a presentation. So I'll talk for about 20 minutes, and then I think we have time for questions. And I look forward to that. So I'll admit to you that I struggled a little bit about what to talk to you about today, a room full of smart technologists. Because I suffer from a little bit of imposter syndrome, especially in a room like this. My name is Nicole, and I am a liberal arts major. In fact, I'm an American Studies major, an English minor, a former poetry fellow. I am a Cal grad, go Bears, not from the computer or the electrical engineering departments, but from the law and the journalism school. But I do have 20 years of experience working in the tech sector. And I proudly served President Obama as his deputy CTO on internet and innovation policy. So maybe I stand for the proposition that technology is a big tent. And even with all those liberal arts cards stacked against me, I found a job and a place in the tech sector. In ancient Greece, the liberal arts were actually those subjects that were considered essential for a free person to know how to take an active part in civic life. And this is where I actually like to start the discussion of diversity in technology. Because we're not doing this for diversity's sake or as a token to make us all feel better. Diversity of perspectives, of ideas, of people is essential for us to continue building a free and open world. And technology, which both manufactures and is embedded in our infrastructure, in our streets, in our cars, in our homes, is all around us, and even more profoundly, is woven into the fabric of our daily lives and our cultural norms, because it is on the platforms of them that we communicate and we organize ourselves and we make decisions. And because of the increasingly central role of technology, we cannot, we must not let it be the province of a homogeneous few. Our technologies and thus our communities need to be built by those with a wide range of experiences and perspectives, or it will ultimately fail to truly serve all of us. So let me give you an example of what I mean. The city of Boston partnered with a terrific group of civic technologists in the mayor's office of New Urban Mechanics. And a few years back, they developed this mobile app. They called it Street Bump. And it used the smartphone's accelerometer and GPS feed to collect data about road conditions. So you drive and you go over a bump, and it records it, and it sends it back to the city public works department so that they can go fix the pothole. It was a marvelous example of how cities are creatively using crowdsourcing to improve service delivery. But the Street Bump team also identified a potential problem. They knew that the poor and the elderly probably didn't have smartphones. And so by deploying it simply to the public in the App Store, they would end up systematically sending resources to the wealthier neighborhoods and the people who had smartphone owners in it, because of the absence of data that would be in some of those other communities. To its credit, the city figured that out in advance. They deployed first the app to all of the city road inspectors who cover the entire city. And then they used the public data in order to supplement and make sure that they were covering some of the lesser visited areas of the city. But it took some foresight to prevent that from being a really unequal delivery of services. And the point of it is that we need to make sure that we have teams that are thinking about those diverse needs. And what I propose to you is that we can't have teams like that unless those teams are diverse themselves. Whether you are in electrical engineering, computer science, biotech, or neuroscience, whether you work on autonomous vehicles or gene editing or microelectronics, whether you are building the future of fully instrumented cities, precision medicine, or interplanetary transport, which is my favorite, these technologies matter, and they affect all of us. And so we shouldn't just build for the majority, but also consider the edge cases, because those edge cases are not just edge cases, they're people. So I stand before you as a confessed liberal arts major, and also as a woman, and an Asian American, and a vertically challenged human being. And I have had, on more than one occasion in my professional career, been mistaken for someone's granddaughter who entered a meeting. I have certainly been in rooms where I was the only woman, or the only minority, or both. And I have been in rooms where it was very hard to make my voice heard. So I'm in this room with you today to say that there is no way forward without a full complement of us designing what the future looks like together. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Thanks to some recent research and some that I heard talked about on one of the panels earlier, we know that diversity improves decision-making, it improves financial performance, it improves employee satisfaction. According to a McKinsey study that was done in the United States last year, there's a linear relationship between racial and ethnic diversity and better financial performance. For every 10% increase in racial and ethnic diversity on the senior executive team of a company, the earnings before interest and taxes rise is 0.8%. Companies in the top quartile for gender diversity are 15% more likely to have financial returns above their respective national industry medians. But our challenges on the numbers are also really clear. Today, women and minorities make up about 70% of college students, but only earn 45% of the STEM degrees. Among the top companies in the metaphysical Silicon Valley, the tech sector, our numbers are abysmal. According to their own diversity reports and the reports that are filed with the federal EEOC, Amazon is 75% male. Apple is 78% male. Intel, Google, Microsoft, Facebook are 80, 82, 83, and 84% male. Twitter is 87% male. And their ethnicity numbers, by the way, are no better. They are mostly white and Asian, and their numbers for blacks and Hispanics are all in single digits, most below 5%. This is not simply a pipeline problem. This past August, Speak with a Geek, which is an IT talent recruiter, published the results of an experiment in blind auditions that they did with a group of technology employers. So on 2 separate occasions, with the same group of employers, they presented the same 5,000 candidates. And the first time around, they presented full resumes with all the details like names and experiences and affiliations. And then in that case, 5% of the applicants were selected for interviews were women. In the second round, they removed all that identifying information, the names, the affiliations, that might indicate gender or race. And in the second round, that same group of employer selected 54% of the women to come back for an interview. We must see the bias and call it out. We cannot hide behind lamentations of it's a pipeline problem, because it's more than that. It is also not, as one venture capitalist wrote in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last week, a problem that should simply be fixed by having women never reveal their identities, scrub their gender from their resumes, go by initials in social media, as if they could walk through life in a blind audition. Women need to be heard, not erased. And they certainly should not be told to hide their identities so that men can get out of the discomfort of facing their biases. That VC apologized, by the way, but we should still be troubled that it was not only written, but that it made it through the editorial and the publication process of the journal without someone calling foul. If we want technology that reflects the values of our diverse society, we will need to make sure that we're bringing more of those voices to the tables. Make that part of your job description. We are not just building the technologies we want to live with, we are building the world we want to live in. So if the solution's not just to prime the pump or erase our identities, then what is it? I think that it is not a silver bullet. There is no shortcut. We actually just have to do the hard work and demand real accountability. So I have a few modest suggestions at a design level. We need to measure our diversity in order to manage it. Across the public and private sectors, we need to start tracking gender, racial, and ethnic diversity. We need to track them in recruitment and retention. We need to start providing salary transparency. I'm not actually dogmatic about whether we publish this to the public, although many companies now do, like Pinterest and Intel. But if we do not at least measure ourselves internally, we cannot expect real and sustained progress. Second, the tone at the top really matters. CEOs and other leaders need to establish diversity as a critical value to the advancement of the organization as a whole. And it's not just about setting expectations and getting everybody in line. When you publicly articulate the value, you actually free everyone else on the ladder not only to question their own values, but it lets those who are underrepresented raise their hand and call out problems. Third, diversity ought to be a performance goal, not just talk. Leaders should hold their managers accountable to make sure they have diverse teams. It should be part of their performance review. And it's partly because it should be a continuous discussion about the improvement, because diversity isn't a status. You don't just achieve it and then forget about it. It has to be a constant effort. Fourth, we shouldn't just call out bias, whether it's unconscious or otherwise. We actually need to make a plan to deal with it. There are a lot of companies now doing unconscious bias training, but they need to get tactical. We're not just here to raise awareness. We want results. And to get that, we have to look at how we recruit, where we recruit, how we interview, how we conduct performance reviews in a way that both diversifies the team and creates and maintains a culture of inclusion. Fifth, and this is actually one of my favorite ones, sponsorship, not mentorship. I have been enormously fortunate to have some really great mentors in my career. But if we want to make progress on diversity, mentorship is not enough. Women don't just need a gentle guidance and support. They need a champion at the table. A sponsor is a person who helps evaluate your career path, who creates opportunities for you to expand your skill sets, and who makes the case for your promotion. We need sponsorship, not just mentorship. Finally, I want to return to the idea of designing in diversity. I think we should experiment broadly about how to do that. I think every organization is a little bit different and probably needs a different solution. But I love, for example, the work done at Harvey Mudd College on rethinking how to teach computer science to retain more women in the program. They created a first-year curriculum that was more project and collaboration-based. They found research opportunities for women, and in 5 years, they went from 12% female graduates to 40%. We need to start thinking about that not only in our universities, but also in our workplaces, about how to recreate spaces and communities for these groups to grow. At a policy level, we should be talking about flex time and paid family leave and broader national policies that level up the financial value of work in teaching and nursing to the same level as finance and law. Okay, so that's my big picture talk and the system design part. Now let me get a little more personal and direct, because in rooms like this, I'm often asked, like, how did you get to where you are? As if I had a secret treasure map that I could share. Disappointingly, there is no map. I mean, when I was in 4th grade, I was as sure as there is gravity that I would be a dolphin trainer, but that didn't work out. As time passed, I got older, and my goals actually got less defined. But I didn't have a plan, but I did have a lot of interests. And that's been the guiding principle of my career, to surround myself with smart people and interesting things to do. And I don't mean interesting in like a day-to-day sense, because everything has its moments of tedium, but I mean interesting in a this is what I do with my life sense. So here are some lessons from my mapless career. First, do the thing that makes you feel powerful. On my first day at the White House, I went into the office of the general counsel in my office, because she's a woman, and I asked her, like, what am I supposed to wear? I was like, pantyhose? Side note, no, thank you, Michelle Obama. Do I have to wear a suit? Yes, but not a cheap government-y kind. Do I have to wear a dress? No, pantsuits are fine. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. But here's what I really loved about her answer. She said, wear whatever it is that makes you feel powerful, because you're going to need everything you've got. I'm short, so my thing is heels, because when I'm arguing with someone, I like to look them in the eye. But find your thing. If it's the power suit, a hoodie, a good luck charm, whatever that thing is, do the thing that makes you feel powerful. Second lesson, be ready to set sail. Not having a plan doesn't mean that you're undirected. Follow what you love. Watch the horizons for opportunities. And always, always be ready to set sail when the tide of interesting comes in. Finally, remember why you're at the table. As part of the mix of jobs that I do now, I work with former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. And she once told me this story about how, as the US ambassador to the UN, she attended her first National Security Council meeting. And it was a room full of men. And as she says it, I was the only skirt in the room. And sitting at the table, she thought to herself, well, maybe I won't speak today. Maybe I'll get the lay of the land and see if they like me. And then she looked down at the placard in front of her that said United States of America. And she thought to herself, if I don't speak today, then the voice of the United States will not be heard. So whatever table you go back to tomorrow, remember why you're at that table and bring your value. Interrupt if you have to, because those rooms are not going to pause for you to work up your courage. You're there for a reason. And if you take it for granted, why would you expect differently from anyone else? I'm the great-great-granddaughter of an immigrant, and I take nothing for granted. I've been extraordinarily fortunate to be part of this tech sector at one of its most exciting times. I also believe we earn our right at our workplaces and our chosen fields of expertise, in the lab or in the boardroom. And I believe it's our right to participate fully in our workplace, in our communities, and in the governance of our country. I also believe it's our privilege and our responsibility to do so when we get the chance. As women in tech, we do have a responsibility to help everyone around us and make it better for all of us, because we are in a place of privilege. Take nothing and no one for granted, least of all yourselves. So thank you for including me in today's conversation. I look forward to continuing it, and I think I have a couple minutes left for questions.
So thank you so much, Nicole. Really inspiring remarks. We have time for maybe just one or two questions. We'll just hand the mic if we have folks who want to pose something. And then, so here and here.
Hi, thank you so much. That was very powerful. And I just had a quick question. I'm in business development in a room with a lot of men, and I just wanted to hear, based on your experience in the White House and some of these other sectors, what are some strategies that you have on how to be heard in a room? Are there different ways that you could share with us?
Yeah, literally, don't be afraid to interrupt. And like, my parents would hate to hear me say that because it's super rude. I'm not, like, I actually have to struggle to tell my daughters to interrupt. But I think that we hold ourselves back too much. And like I was saying, nobody stops for you to catch your breath. And I think you shouldn't underestimate the value that you bring. So like, often, here's what I do. I over-prepare. I mean, I really over-prepare because I want to know that, like, I've got every possible question, answer ready for every question. And it gives me confidence. But then once I get to the room, I have to know why I'm there, right? Like, there's a reason you were asked to join the meeting. Sometimes you need to actually elbow your way into the meeting because you have something important to say. And then do your job, which is you prepared for it. Like, don't hold back the value that they're paying you to be there for.
Good. One other question here.
So I'm kind of interested in, as we talk about diversity and the importance of diversity and kind of catering programs to different groups of people, I can't help but wonder, like, are we homogenizing through technology and, like, creating these programs like, oh, we recognize the diversity, but sometimes the diversity is because the way we've developed the technology itself is, like, exclusive to different ways people have, like, been raised or grown up. And I see sometimes these boot camps. I know there's a couple in Oakland that are, like, boot camps for Hispanics and Blacks to get involved in technology. And part of it, criticisms that I've heard of it, is that it's homogenizing those people to adapt to the system instead of bringing in diversity. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, and if you see that, or ways that we don't homogenize in that way.
Yeah. So I believe that we're still early in figuring out how to cater to our diversity well. I enrolled my daughter in a computer camp here over the summer, and she was there for one day. They sat her in front of a computer for 8 hours. Like, literally, it was like, do computer, and it was alone. It wasn't even like in groups. It was just like sit in front of a computer and program, and then you get a break, which is to go play a game on a computer, and then go back to the computer again. And she, like, got out of school that day. She's like, I'm not going back. Like, she wouldn't go back, right? And I may have lost her in computer science for the rest of her life. So I think that we need to figure out ways to reach people that is effective for them, right, and draws them in, and yet not disaggregate them. Because I do worry that, like, I like the Harvey Mudd example, for example. So, like, what they did was, typical first-year computer science course at Harvey Mudd was, you go in and it's like Computer Science 101, and you have a project, and you do it on your own, and you turn it in at the end of the week. And especially if you're a male who's been programming since they were in 9th grade, that works out great for you. If you're a woman who has never done computer science in your life, you feel stupid. And so what they did was they re-engineered that course so that it was project-based. So you were reinforcing yourself with peers to learn, and your learning actually accelerates because some are more advanced and some are not, but everybody actually catches up by the end of the project. It also plays to the strength of women who are actually really good at collaboration and relationship building. And it improves the men's ability to do that too. So while I want to make sure that we reach everyone in their diverse places, I also think that we need some string of programs which brings them together for collaboration.
Great, thank you. I think we're going to stop there and move on to the Athena Awards, but I wanted to say thank you to Nicole one more time.